Before we get into today's video, I just want to start off by saying rest in peace to Dale Hawerchuk, who lost his battle with cancer yesterday. My condolences to his family. Hawerchuk is definitely a legend of the game and somebody that I'm sure had a big impact on a lot of young players, being the head coach of the Barrie Colts, so I just wanted to say that before we get into the video. In my opinion, the NHL has done a fantastic job of making the best out of a tough situation. I'll admit I was skeptical heading into the playoffs. I wasn't sure how things were going to look with no fans in the arena, but so far I've really been enjoying myself, and in this video I want to take a look at 7 NHL players that have been shocking a lot of people so far in the 2020 Stanley Cup playoffs, whether that's for good reason or for bad reason. Yes, I know it is still a small sample size, and the first round isn't even completely finished yet, but it feels like the playoffs have been going on for a while due to the fact that we had a play-in round, so I didn't really think it was too early to make this video. But with all that being said, if you guys are new to the channel and you want to see more NHL content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and now let's begin. Starting off the video, we have Nazem Kadri of the Colorado Avalanche, one of the players I was actually most excited to talk about in this video. If you guys remember before the playoffs started, I made a video talking about the players with the most to prove in the 2020 Stanley Cup playoffs, and I had Kadri in that video because of what happened in the previous 2 postseasons with the Toronto Maple Leafs. In both series against the Boston Bruins, when the Leafs needed him most, he wasn't there due to a suspension. But this Nazem Kadri in the 2020 playoffs for the Avalanche looks like a completely different player. He has been a massive offensive contributor. In 7 games, Kadri has 4 goals and 5 assists for 9 points, but in my opinion the most important stat is the 0 penalty minutes. I feel like that right there should tell us that Nazem Kadri probably came into these playoffs with a completely different mindset, and he's been a very important player for the Avalanche, and in a couple of games a big difference maker. It's crazy that Colorado went from last year being a team that didn't really have a lot of depth behind their top line of Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Gabriel Landeskog, to now where it feels like they are honestly one of the deepest teams in the NHL, with guys like Nazem Kadri and Jonas Donskoy and Andre Burakovsky, all 3 offseason additions that have been paying dividends for the Avalanche, and I'm just really happy to see Kadri thriving. Next up, we have Milan Lucic of the Calgary Flames, and you want to talk about difference makers, that is exactly what Lucic has been so far in the playoffs for the Calgary Flames. Over the past couple of seasons, a lot of the focus revolving around Milan Lucic has been about his bad contract and his massive decline in performance. And while yes, he hasn't really been good at all over the past 3 regular seasons, so far in these playoffs he's arguably been one of Calgary's best forwards, and I've seen this thrown around a lot on Twitter since the playoffs have started, but it feels like we are watching a prime Milan Lucic out there with the Flames. So far in 9 games, Lucic has a goal and 5 assists for 6 points, which is actually the same amount of points as Johnny Gaudreau has, by the way, and at one point throughout the playoffs, Lucic was on a 5-game point streak. All of that offense has kind of just been a bonus, because when it comes to Lucic, you know he's going to leave an imprint on the game in terms of his physicality, in terms of his chippiness, and the way he just sticks up for his own players. He's a guy whose play definitely caters more to the playoffs, and we have definitely seen that so far. His leadership on that line with Dylan Dubé and Sam Bennett I think has been huge for those players as well, and I think it showed in their performance. They've also been fantastic for the Flames. They are down 3-2 in the series against the Dallas Stars. Game 6 is tomorrow, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't rooting for the Flames. I want to see a Game 7, and I also want to see a little bit more Lucic, which is something I didn't think I'd ever say again. Moving along now, we have Carter Hart of the Philadelphia Flyers, and what more can be said about Carter Hart that hasn't been already? This guy continues to just blow me away. Now coming off of back-to-back shutouts against the Montreal Canadiens, has the Flyers up 3-1 in that series, and his play so far has honestly just been ridiculous. He is just the 3rd goaltender in Philadelphia Flyers history to record back-to-back shutouts in the playoffs, and also the 2nd youngest goalie in NHL history to do that. So far in 6 games, Carter Hart has a record of 5-1, a .958 save percentage, and a 1.24 goals against average. This guy is 22 years old. After his 2nd shutout, a question I saw asked was, if you could have any goaltender on your favorite team over the next 5 seasons, who would that goaltender be and why? And honestly, I would say Carter Hart would probably have to be the best answer for that. You could definitely throw guys like Vasilevsky and Hellebuck into that conversation. Both are still relatively young. Also other goaltenders like Igor Shesterkin Larkin, Ilya Samsonov, maybe Mackenzie Blackwood, but Carter Hart is going to be such a good goaltender for such a long time, and it's nice to see the Philadelphia Flyers have a guy like Carter Hart, considering their goaltending situation has seemingly been cursed ever since Bernie Parent and Ron Hextall. Continuing on, next up we have Anthony Beauvillier of the New York Islanders. At the beginning of each of the past 2 NHL seasons, I had Beauvillier as a potential breakout candidate. In my opinion, he has all the tools to become a 50 to 60 point player. He has the skill, he has the speed, and so far throughout the playoffs, he's shown his ability to finish. Through the Islanders' first 8 playoff games, Beauvillier is tied with Jean-Gabriel Pageau for the team leading goals with 4, and also tied with Barzal and Josh Bailey for the team lead in points with 7. This is a guy that has yet to break the 40-point mark in his career and only had 2 points in 8 playoff games last year, so it's nice to see him kind of break out offensively in these playoffs. The Islanders are a team that win a lot of their games from their defense and good goaltending. Sometimes they do struggle to get offense, so it has been huge for them to get this type of production from Beauvillier. Although they did lose their last game to the Caps, they are still up in that series 3-1, and the way they've been playing so far throughout the playoffs, it's going to be tough for Washington to complete that comeback, but I probably just jinxed the Islanders. Hopefully Beauvillier can carry this type of offensive production into next season and finally have that breakout year. Let's talk about Jordan Binnington. He's the one player in this video who has been shocking in a bad way. As we all know, Binnington came in last year and the Blues instantly turned their season around. He put up insane numbers and carried that play over into the playoffs and was a key factor in the St. Louis Blues winning the 2019 Stanley Cup. And in the 1920 regular season, he proved that wasn't a fluke, as he still put up really good numbers and the Blues were one of the best teams in the NHL. But so far, these playoffs have kind of been the opposite to last year's for Binnington. He has really struggled. In 4 starts so far, Binnington is 0-4 with a 4.27 goals against and an .862 save percentage. And in their first round matchup against the Vancouver Canucks, they fell down 2-0, and Jake Allen took over the starting role, and now that series is knotted up at 2. So as of right now, Jordan Binnington has kind of lost that starting spot to Jake Allen, which is pretty crazy. I'm not saying Jake Allen is going to be the Blues starter moving into the future, but I mean, for the rest of this series against the Canucks, I don't see any reason why the Blues would go back to Binnington unless Jake Allen plays absolutely horrendous in Game 5. It's definitely going to be pretty interesting to see how this plays out, but Jordan Binnington has definitely been pretty disappointing so far. Moving along now, next up we have captain of the Vancouver Canucks, Bo Horvat, who has really stepped up and became a big-time offensive player so far in the playoffs. Horvat isn't necessarily known as a big-time goal scorer. He has scored 20 over the past 4 seasons, but has never broken that 30-goal mark. So far in the playoffs through 8 games, Horvat already has 6 goals and 2 assists for 8 points. 2 of the goals being absolutely insane. You guys probably know what ones I'm talking about if you've been paying attention to this series. He's been extremely clutch, scored the overtime winner in Game 2 against the Blues, and I guess this might not be shocking for some people. Everyone knows that Bo Horvat is a really good player. I guess for me personally, it's kind of just shocking in the sense that I don't really think of Bo Horvat as one of the driving forces of the Canucks offense. Usually you think of guys like Pedersen, Brock Besser, and even JT Miller over Bo Horvat, but again, he has just been a beast so far in these playoffs, and maybe instead of shocked, I'm more just extremely impressed by his play so far, and that's definitely what you want from your captain, for him to step up and become an even better player in the playoffs than he was in the regular season, and Horvat has definitely done that. And now the final player we're going to talk about in today's video, Sam Bennett of the Calgary Flames. The more I watch the Flames, the more I become a huge fan of Sam Bennett. This is a guy that was taken with the 4th overall pick back in 2014. Throughout his career has gotten a lot of criticism because he didn't necessarily live up to the hype of being a top 5 pick. He never developed into a star for the Calgary Flames, but man, has Sam Bennett ever turned himself into one fantastic role player. He really does a little bit of everything, and you could make an argument that Sam Bennett has been Calgary's best forward throughout the entire playoffs so far. In 9 games so far, Sam Bennett has 5 goals, which is tied for second of any other player in the playoffs, only behind Bo Horvat, who we just talked about, and also has 2 assists for 7 points, second on the Calgary Flames in playoff scoring, only behind Sean Monahan. On top of the offensive production, the physicality is still there. He's a player that can do a little bit of everything, and a guy that has just really impressed me so far throughout these playoffs. That is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. If there are any players that have shocked you so far throughout the playoffs that I did not mention in this video, feel free to let me know down below in the comment section. And of course, depending on when you're watching this video, the point totals that I brought up are obviously subject to change, so keep that in mind. And yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to go down there and drop a like on it. That is the best way to show your support. And as always, if you guys are new to the channel and you want to see more NHL content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys all in the next video.